Hi, this is Phil with American Plumb Method, Plumbing and Rooter Service. So today we're just going to show you water supply applications. There's different types of water supply applications. There's the PEX B crimping water supply application. There's also the pen. We'll show you copper type L. We'll show you the soldering process, and then we'll also show you the ProPress process. You can see this is PEX A. Both come in rolls and also straight lengths. We'll show you the crimping type process with the ring and the fitting. We'll also show you the Viega Pier Flow, which is also another crimping process that you'll need some tools with this. And we'll also show you the tools for that. We'll also show you some adapters for both pipes. Schedule 40 PVC. Charlotte pipe is a really good pipe to show for this. We'll also show you CPVC, and I'll tell you a little bit more about CPVC and why it is so popular. Type L copper 3/4, a sweat fitting, and a ProPress fitting. And we'll go down the list and we'll show you the application. The first one we're going to show you is the crimping application for PEX B pipe. A lot of these materials you can get at any do-it-yourself center. You also are going to need, which they do sell at the do-it-your-home center, is a crimper for PEX. This is a manual one. Still is really good and effective. It's kind of hard to get in some spots, but if you know how to maneuver, if you have the room, you could really make it happen. They also have some offset hand crimpers. I like these because this is really all I really kind of need. And the kit also comes, will come with pretty much a standard size of 1/2 inch to 1 inch. So the most important thing when you do the plastic pipe crimping or PEX expanding is you always want to make a good clean cut. Highly recommend you get PEX pipe cutters, which really cut the pipes very good. You want to make a nice straight cut like this. You don't want any angle cuts. You want something as straight as possible. Different type of plastic pipe cutters that you would use for PVC and CPVC. So I would recommend you get the PEX pipe cutters. You'll get a better cut out of it. You want to slide your ring on there. You want to insert the fitting, and you want to give yourself about 1/8 of an inch from the pipe as such. Now the manual crimpers, you really got to line it up, and I'll show you. I kind of use one of the, put it in here. You want to line it up. And then you just kind of use, that's it. And then what I always like to do is I always like to check the pinch bead on this one. And you see the 1/8 of an inch clearance where the pipe and the ring goes. And I'm using blue and red, which will indicate hot and cold, just to show you that you can have identify the lines you're installing, which could be important for some people to identify as they're doing their application. They do make a white, but sometimes people are not sure if they just did the hot or the cold. So I always like to get the color coded. And that's it. Right there, got a strong connection. And this is also, you're able to turn it. The one important thing that you need to know about the crimping and the expanding pipe is the fittings are different. So it's very important to know that the crimping fitting does have the identified 3 ribs, as the expander has like the crown rib that you can see when it starts expanding, it'll grab, and I'll show you that one. But let me show you another type of crimping process that is really a lot better and something a lot of people may prefer. Still, we're going to use type PEX B. And this one is Viega. Viega makes a pure flow crimping fitting. It's fantastic. Something that if you have the tool, it's really fantastic. It's very popular. Milwaukee makes a very good crimping gun. They also make the expanding gun, which I'll show you next. But once again, it would be something of this sort. You always want to make a nice clean cut. You insert it. They do have an inspection hole here so you can see that the pipe is bottomed out into the fitting. Very important for a good water connection. Done. Of course, as you can see the difference, it is a lot better. It's a lot faster, and it's definitely a very reliable connection. These two are the crimping process. This is actually very much the most popular one, but you do need to get the tool with the assortment heads of 1/2 inch to 1 inch. You can also get bigger sizes with the crimpers. This is something that's very accessible for any homeowner to go down to the do-it-yourself center and get this. This you're probably going to need to order from a contractor supply house, but they are accessible to the public. So this is PEX A. This is the expanding one. This is probably the most common one for any type of repairs in repipes. What we like to do with our repipes is we'll do a PEX install. We always use copper stub outs with the adapters. The adapters would be as such. And we would install on a copper pipe as a stub out, and then we could run PEX to connect to it. It's really the best way to do it. But let me show you a little bit about the PEX expanding. Of course, I have your red and blue for identifying what water lines you're doing. Highly recommend. Once again, you want to use your PEX cutters. You want to make a nice straight cut. You always want that straight cut for the best water connection. With this type of application, you need a PEX expanding ring. The ring will have a stop on one side. It's a lip on one side which you could feel. That's the side you want the pipe to stop at. It gives you about 1/8 of an inch clearance. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the PEX expanding fitting. They do make these fittings in plastic or brass. So what we'll do is we'll use our Milwaukee PEX expander. It's very, very good. It's the most common tool. And what we're going to do is we're going to do 5 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I would keep going so you have time to apply this. You're allowed a certain amount of time for this pipe to retract and grab the fitting. It's very important. You slide it in, and then the fitting's got stops, and you slide it in, and now what the pipe has is it has memory cell, and it starts retracting and grabbing a hold of that fitting. So as you can see you could see where the expanding pipe is already retracted itself and grabbed the fitting. We'll do it again with an identified hot. And just hold it and let it retract itself. And you can see as it retracts, it starts to give you an identified seal. So as you can see, the expanding PEX has retracted, and you can see the color identified. Very important for both applications to make sure that the pipe is bottomed out to the fitting. You know, a lot of people have their own favorites, especially a lot of plumbers. The Viega PEX press with the machine, you can see it's a lot better. It's a lot faster. I have a favorite opinion about this because I think it's a lot faster application, a lot stronger. But I'll be honest with you, with a lot of repipes, these are the expanding is just as fantastic. And you can see it is strong, and it is tested, and so these are the two applications. Another thing I do want to point out is they also have these brass adapters. For the type A crimping or the expanding, they do make brass adapters. They also make brass adapters that are pro press, and then ones that you could sweat onto a copper stub out as such, and then you can transition to PEX. They do make them in all different type of sizes, so you do have ability to transition type of water supply. So this is the PEX crimping and expanding. And I'd also like to let you guys know that that once again you can get this type of crimping in any do-it-yourself center. Viega is just the best at making this this fitting and application. In fact, I think they're really the only ones that do make these. That's kind of their product. It's fantastic. And of course, the PEX expanding, Uponor is very popular. Apollo makes it. Then also Ferguson's makes their own brand too, which we have used the repipes, and it's just as good as any other. So that's that application, guys. Okay, so this application right here is Schedule 40 PVC. You can also get Schedule 80, same application will apply. And we're going to use 3/4 PVC pipe. Of course, you want to use PVC cutters. These are the rigid 138s. I don't know if they make them anymore, but these are truly, I just think they're the best. They're truly awesome. And you can get some, you can still find these on eBay or some type of tool supply website, but any other PVC cutter will just work just as fine. So of course, once again, you always want to make a nice cut. Now, the one thing with PVC that I would like to let you guys know, a lot of guys like to run a little bit of a sanding process on it. I think it's fine. The primer really will be a solvent that will soften up the pipe, that will give you a good cure and a good bond. One of the things that the instructions on to put PVC together is actually on the can, and I'll do the can's instructions. One of the things that I do recommend with pressured lines is doing an inner and outer reaming. What this will do, this will help develop a bead for your seal, and it doesn't scrape inside the pipe. Especially if you're dealing with high pressure lines, you want the best seal as possible. Like any other glue type application, you need to let it dry before you could pressurize. So whatever you do in the prep process is extremely important. You also want to use a primer, and you also want to use PVC glue. Odie and Weldon do make I think two of the best glues. We do have a mixture of both. What we like to do with the PVC is we like to use the heavy bond gray. The blue is just as good, but I think if you're dealing with high pressure lines, you want the heavy bond gray because it really grabs and it cures quicker. The application with PVC, and this is just instructional type application, but I do recommend it, is you want to do a primer pipe, primer cup. then back to primer pipe. The glue application is the opposite. Glue cup, glue pipe, glue cup. So we'll do the application with the primer, pipe, cup, and then bring something back on the pipe. And then we'll do our glue with cup, pipe, and cup. And because we had reamed the pipe inner and outer, what we're doing is now we got a good bead. And when you do that, it helps prevent the pipe from pushing out of the cup. And as you can see, you want that bead. Let's do another one. We'll do primer pipe, cup, pipe. Now we're going to do the glue, cup, pipe, cup. And if you apply that, I always like give it a quarter turn twist. Kind of want to hold it. I always like kind of making sure my bead is spread because that is your seal. And right there you'll have a good bond. Of course, you're going to need to let dry time. The heavy bond gray, your dry time will be a lot faster. Now a lot of guys do, this is a good little tip. I use this tip. A lot of guys sand it, but I also let the primer do my cleaning. So if you want to clean the pipe, I kind of always do this. If I have to clean a pipe, maybe you got a section of pipe that had gotten scuffed up in the back of the truck on your way to the job, but you could use the primer to clean the pipe. And as you can see, that's what it does. It also softens up the pipe, so if you don't ream inner and outer and you push a cup, you could peel part of this. So this is why I think it's a really good inner and outer reaming before you start applying your application. So that is PVC Schedule 40. Same application would go for Schedule 80. Very common pipe used out here. Charlotte makes a really good PVC pipe. That's the PVC application. Okay, so what we're going to do here is CPVC pipe. It's plastic pipe, potable water supplied pipe. This pipe, to be honest with you guys, is really considered the best pipe for water supply. It's also a fire retardant pipe. You can put this in residential properties. You can also put this in commercial properties and in commercial subterranean properties, which a lot of new builds are using CPVC in the garages. And now CPVC used to be installed or put together with a primer and a CPVC glue. One of the reasons I think, my opinion, that they had gotten out of it because of the primer and glue application, that it was clogging fittings. So what a lot of the companies like Odie and Weldon had done, they did an all-in-one glue. And it actually really works fantastic. They do make transition fittings. Sioux Chief, which is one of my favorite plumbing material companies, they did come out with a copper transition CPVC fitting. And we've used these on jobs. Like I said, there's CPVC in properties, residential and commercial. So if you had a CPVC pipe and you wanted to glue this on to your CPVC pipe, and then from this point on you could run copper, you also have that option. Sioux Chief makes this. Fantastic option if you guys can get a hold of one through your supplier or ordering online. Definitely something you're able to get. But let's go back to the CPVC. Pretty much the same thing. You want a good cut. Any PVC cutter will work. Same thing, we want both ends. So you can see the difference in cut. This one's a little bit angled, this one's more straight. Definitely try to make your straight cut. And then you want to use your all-in-one CPVC glue. And it's pretty much the same application. If you have any questions about instruction on applications, the cans do provide it. And I do like to follow the first application with pipe, cup, a little bit more in the pipe, glue this in, okay? Let's do a little ream on inner and outer. That application, I always do a little quarter turn to make sure that bead is spread. That's where you know you got your good seal. And like I said, I think the reason why they came out with the all-in-one, because there's no buildup of glue that can go into the fitting to restrict flow, or sometimes close a fitting if you're gluing into a 90-degree elbow. So this really works fantastic. The cure time's pretty fast, and we've had to do some repairs or some valve replacements with CPVC. Like I said, CPVC is really considered one of the best pipe applications, but the cure time just slow your process down. But when you have to repair it, definitely get the all-in-one glue, make sure you make your cuts, and make sure you do use the right material. This has got a kind of like an off-white color compared to the PVC white. You can see the difference. So you definitely don't want to mix and match fittings, because our glues for CPVC or PVC, they're bonding agents, and they're bonding agents for the type of plastic pipe that you are installing. So very important to make sure you got the proper material with the proper solvents. Okay, so we're going to be doing copper sweat application. There's different type of coppers. There's a type L.
Type L, type M, type K.
Type K. Type K is a very thick copper. Now they're also colored identified. So type L has got the blue to identify that it's type L. Type K is green, and type
M is red.
Type M is red. Type L blue is the most common, and really it's the thickness of the copper. Type M is thinner, type L is the standard thick, type K is thicker. And you'll probably use a lot of type K in probably more commercial or industrial type applications, but the most commonly used is the type L. If you're doing any home repairs, type M will be fine, but I think you're going to get longer life and a better quality just by getting type L. So with the sweat solder type application, very important, you need to clean your pipe. I like the mesh sandcloth. You can get a nice clean on it, or you can get a copper cleaner tool, which you can get. So we really want to kind of clean the pipe very well. So very important to clean your copper. You can see the difference on the copper. You could use mesh sandcloth. I like the mesh sandcloth because if you're working in an area where there's wetness or there's water, or maybe you're in the ground or something, the mesh, water, it won't even affect your cleaning. In fact, I would always recommend this is probably the one you want to use the most. You can also use the cleaning tool. You can see the difference on that. Very important that this is clean for your soldering application. And most importantly, you ream your pipe, because when you cut the pipe with cutters, you're going to have a burr inside. So, and you see the shaving right there. It's a copper shaving. I don't know if you can see it.
What does that shaving do if you don't burr it or deburr it?
Well, you can actually cause water turbulation, which can cause pit holes in your pipe if it's hitting a fitting. So it's hitting that fitting, but now when you deburr it, it's real smooth. I have no restriction on that pipe. This will give you a better water flow, and this will prevent your pipe from getting pits. And it's really the better flow of pipe or water. It's a better flow of water flow through the pipe.
Airflow of water and it doesn't create turbulence.
So this is very important. With your fitting, they make, of course, fittings for 90s, 90-degree elbows, T's, 45s, couplings. You also want to clean your fitting. Very important for this application. You can get a wire brush and do this. Some guys take the sandcloth and they kind of do this. I think you could be pretty effective, but I think also you just want to get a wire brush to do it. Very important to clean that pipe. Let's do both sides because we're going to be soldering this area. Let's ream it, very important. And we also want to clean it. Either sandcloth or you can use your cleaning tool. Now you want to use flux. We like to use, you could use the OD, number 5, I believe, number 5 flux, or use Everflux. Depending on your preference, a lot of guys like the Everflux. So we're going to do 1 and 1. You'll see so what you want to do is just apply it to the pipe, and you can apply it to the cup. Now my personal opinion, the way I was taught, I always just clean off the excess. I always, from one side, for the size of 1/2 inch to at least 1 inch, I never, from the size of 1/2 inch to 1 inch, or even 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches, I never apply flux to my cup. And here's how I was taught. Let's clean this up. When you're dealing with those sizes, if you apply your flux to the pipe and you push it into a fitting that is clean, you're creating the bead of the flux. There is a little space, there's a little space for the pipe and cup. You are spreading that flux. And the reason why I like this, because you're not pushing flux inside your fitting, so when you turn the water system on, you're really contaminating the water system. I know that's a strong word to use, but if you were doing a copper repair in a hospital, it's very important because you're contaminating the water system. In fact, you need to purge out that system extremely well. I think when you get to bigger sizes like 1/2 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 2.5 inch, bigger sizes, you do need to apply this to the cup. The flux, you need to apply it to the cup because you really need to get a good weld and bond on this so you're not having any leaks. But for this size pipe, I personally like just fluxing the outside. If you're not too sure on your soldering ability, it's not a big deal to put a little flux inside the cup. Just make sure you purge it out. Let's use a little bit of the OD. And I'm not really comparing the flux product. I'm just showing you that if you had a choice or you only have the access to buy this product or the Everflux product, I think you're going to be just fine. It's really what is accessible. The OD product, to be honest with you, is thick and it's really good. I kind of like the thick because my flux sticks. The Everflux is really good because it really does clean the pipe. I mean, you're really going to have a really good solder connection and weld on that. So let's do that. And also, just for the sake, let's just put a little dab on there. And you can see the bead of flux is on there. I usually like to clean the excess flux off. Mike, would you like to help me and assist me on this?
Sure.
Please hold it over here. We're going to grab our solder torch, MAP gas. There's 2 types of solder torches that you could get. You can get the turbo torch or the Gauss torch. My opinion, Gauss torch is just definitely a better torch than turbo torch. You buy this, you're going to have this torch for a lot longer than you are turbo. Nothing against turbo, it's out there. A lot of turbo torches out there. I had it for years, but since I went to Gauss, it's definitely a better torch.
Lasted 10 times longer.
Before we get started with this, you want to make sure that your surrounding is safe. If you're soldering in a wall, you want to wet the wall. Have a fire extinguisher next to you just in case in the event that you do need it. They also make a lot of fire retardant type applications if you're soldering in a wall. They make a fire retardant type of mat that goes in the wall. They also have a product called Cool Gel. And Cool Gel is a spray that you could spray in the wall that would also help protect getting burn marks in the wall. Here's a fire retardant mat. In fact, let's put that here. So just remember, safety first, and just remember that with fire in the wall, just want to make sure you got your water extinguisher or some type of fire retardant to protect any kind of burning outside of what you're doing. So what I like to do is I like to apply heat to the pipe and to the cup. You'll see the cup change color. Even if you wanted to get underneath it, remember, heat rises. I heat up the cup and I go right back to the pipe the way I was taught. And I kind of let the solder do its thing. I go right back to the pipe. That's that side. I go cup, pipe, and I go right to the cup. You'll see it change color. I'll go right back to the pipe and I'll drop my solder. Now keep in mind, very important to know this, that the solder follows the flux. This is why cleaning is so important during the application. Some guys like to drag a little bit of flux over it for clean, some guys don't. I think either one's going to be fine. I think the most important part to this is cleaning the flux off the pipe. So right here, we clean the pipe, we clean the rest of the flux, especially if you're doing a vertical pipe. If you're doing a vertical type of repair, the flux could run down here. Like I had mentioned, the solder is going to follow the flux. So if you have some drips of flux, your solder is going to drip down. So definitely when you heat up the pipe with flux before you apply the solder, heat it up for a little bit, wipe it down so you can get the excess flux off. This way you don't have any solder runs on this. Very important also to know and understand, the MAP gas in your welding application is a little bit over 700 degrees. Make sure you cool the pipe down before you grab it, because you'll get a nice little burn on you. And most plumbers have already had that. But it's very important to really keep in mind, make sure you cool this pipe down. A wet rag, spray bottle, and clean that pipe. Well, the other thing I do want to show you with this, Mike, can you heat the torch up? Flux cleans the pipe. So you see we had a pipe a little bit scuffed up. In fact, let me try this one. Mike, heat up the pipe. Flux also cleans your pipe. Very important to clean the pipe. But as you can see, how flux just really kind of cleans that. And let me show you keep it on, please. And we'll do this side also with the OD. It's an acetone-based type deal, so it will clean the pipe. Very important to go through this process. Also to show you what I'm talking about, the fire retardant. Do it again, Mike. Okay. So a fire retardant mat you could put in the wall if you're doing a vertical pipe and you're in the wall and you would just want to be a little bit safe, you're maybe not too sure, put in some fire in the wall, you put this around your pipe, you'll be okay. Especially with shower valve installs, I always like putting this behind my shower valve and then installing my valve. Like I had mentioned, just always want to be very cognizant of fire inside of a confined space, and anything that could be flammable next to it. And especially if you're going to be doing any type of soldering application inside a confined space, if you could remove anything that could be flammable, remove it. And that is the copper soldering application. Okay, so like we had mentioned to you about the type of copper pipes and the type of copper soldering application, here's another application that is used very often in the industry, and it's very fantastic. You can't stop the water flow or dripping when you're soldering. Now there's different tools you could do by putting a jet sweat plug, maybe a ball valve or union, but with the ProPress, you don't need to worry about the water running in the pipe. And I'll show you. The same cleaning process applies. You got your mesh sand cloth, or you can use your cleaning tool. Very important with copper that you do this process. You also want to ream the pipe. And we're going to do it to this one. I'll use the tool. And then we'll ream it. Very important, guys, to do this. Very, very important. You want to use a ProPress fitting. Viega makes great ProPress fittings, also Nipco. I believe Paulo also got into the ProPress game.
I think they did.
Yeah, but Viega and Nipco is going to be the most common. One of the things you're going to need with the ProPress is you're going to need a ProPress tool. Milwaukee makes a ProPress tool. Rigid makes a ProPress tool. This one is the RP240. I like this because it's small, it's got the swivel, it's very compact. You can get pretty much a standard kit up from 1/2-inch pipe to 1.25 inch, and you can get the extended sizes for these. We also have the RP330. That's like, that's just an awesome tool. And like I said, Milwaukee makes a very good one that we also have on our trucks as well. This is mine, the RP240. So like I had mentioned, guys, with your copper process, ream and clean, very important. What you're going to do with the ProPress is just you're going to put it in the cup. Another very important process is you just want to take a marker and you just want to mark it. And the reason they like you to do this, when you ProPress this, you're committed to that type of seal. So you don't ever want to ProPress a pipe that's halfway out because you need to get it into the cup. Like sweating or what we were just doing, showing you with the soldering, if you were a little bit off, you can always heat it up again, push it in, and resolder it. You can't do that with the ProPress. Once it presses, you're in it. So of course we have the 3/4 jaw on here. What we're going to do is to 3/4 jaw, we're going to put it lined up with the fitting. And you're going to turn it on. And once again, before I start this, you guys have got to be very careful. If you ever see a guy holding it like this and it pinches his hand, it's going to hurt. So when I always do it, just make sure, and I always, before I even turn the power on, I like to feel it if you're in a wall, just to make sure it's in the slot. And like I said, you got different angles that you can get it depending on where your pipe's at. But let's just do the vertical one for right now. Pipes in, let's turn the power on. Right when you hear that pop, you're done. Let's open it up. Move it to the next one. As soon as you hear the pop, you're done. Turn the power off. And right there, you're done. Why I like ProPress a lot, especially if you're in commercial buildings and you're doing a plumbing repair in a subterranean garage and you turn off your shutoff valve 20 feet away and you may have some water dribbling out. The water with it slightly dribbling out is not going to stop you from doing this application and getting a watertight seal. Also, if you're under house or in a wall, a little bit of water dribbling out is not going to stop you from putting this pipe together and getting the water back on. As with solder, when you're soldering the pipe, you can't solder with water in the pipe. And so that's the difference. Now there is tools like the jet sweat that you can put inside the pipe and plug the pipe so you can solder maybe a valve or a union on there, but you can't have any water in this pipe. And I know the old school way was to stuff it with bread, but they do make tools now, and tools to stop the water coming in when you're soldering. Like I said, ProPress, you don't have to worry about that. And that is that process with the most common applications for a water supplied install.